Today, for my complex issue, I will be discussing the complex issue of the erasure of art programs in public schools and why they are important and how we can prevent them from going extinct and no longer being a part of our education curriculum. So, what is the problem? The problem is that there is a general lack of funding for the arts programs in public education. Even though there are studies that show that arts programs play a vital role in facilitating the education of children. Um, and due to the underfunding, a lot of these programs are being downsized or removed from these schools or relegated to one class by one teacher who's um, understaffed and underpaid to be doing this work of an entire program. Um, and it's not that people don't care, as the Ohio Arts Council found with the survey, 83% of uh, Ohio taxpayers know that some of their tax dollars are going towards arts programs, and 91% in that survey believe that they should be. But despite the widespread support, the heavy reliance on local tax dollars for arts funding in schools runs the risk of creating a Hunger Games that pits districts against each other, where in the wealthier district, the more resources that will be added or will be made available to support the arts in those schools. And state policymakers can mitigate this issue by including funding for arts in the next state budget, according to Pruitt. So here we have two graphs. On the left is the percent of public elementary schools programs that include general, instrumental, or vocal music. Um, I'd like to highlight that only 56% of all schools in the United States surveyed by the U.S. Department of Education in 1994, only 56% had a full encompassing arts and music program, um, which is rather low when you think about our education system broadly as a whole. On the right, we have a graph of percent of elementary schools that you have drama or theater programs. Again, we have 56% use drama or theater programs to teach other subjects. It's not a dedicated drama or theater class. It is oftentimes it's like English lit courses that require dramatization or acting out of certain readings or assignments. It's not um, all encompassing of the drama and a full-on drama and theater program. 8% of those separate the drama and theater programs and are taught through a drama or theater specialist, which is the kind of all-encompassing program that we would like to see. Uh, and then 16% have a drama theater program as part of their language or arts curriculum. And then 20% in the country have no drama or theater program whatsoever. Another issue is that minority schools are a greater risk for the erasure of their arts programs. Many school districts with minority populations receive less funding from their arts programs, oftentimes losing out their funding from districts that are right next to them that might be wealthier or deemed as a better fit for the resources. Um, uh, One study found that Black and Brown students earn approximately 25 to 30% fewer arts credits. Um, whereas the uh, importance of music education is vital for students that are disadvantaged, as studies have found that disadvantaged students are 2 times more likely to graduate high school and college when they have taken extensive arts programs of music, theater, dance, visual arts. Um, this one finding by Kraft found in a survey that a teacher at one school, primarily Anglo school, with just over 140 students enrolled in the art program, received $1,000 in budgetary money for the 1994-95 school year. That same school year, a second school number two, a predominantly minority school with an art program of the same size was allotted a budget of $781.50 for the year. This is a direct example of how school districts often are wildly different from district to district in the amount of funding that their arts programs receive, and even programs of the same size of similar districts will receive different funding um, based on arbitrary reasons. Um, in this bottom right, we have two tables. The first table is uh, a teacher of a primarily Anglo schools asked about the thoughts on the budgets of the schools in the surrounding districts. 17% said they felt that the budgets surrounding the school districts were much better for their arts programs. 39% said they were somewhat better. 33% said about the same. 11% said somewhat lower, and 0% said much lower. Table two is a predominantly minority school, asked the same question about how they felt about the budgets of the districts surrounding them. 0% said that their budget was much better than the budgets of the arts programs surrounding them. 38% said somewhat better, whereas 15% said the same, probably of equivalent budget sizes for their arts programs. 23% said somewhat lower, and then 8% said much lower uh, budgets. So, what are the solutions to this problem? It's simple. Fund the arts education. How can we increase funding for the arts? One way to increase funding for the arts program in public schools is to lobby for a specific section of education budgets to be directly allotted for arts education. Um, one way to do this is through the proposed Fair School Funding Plan in Ohio, which is being lobbied to bring back arts education and have fair funding amongst budgetary discretions in public education, so that arts programs aren't just left out all the time. Um, Another way is as traditional funding declines, school leaders seek support through the arts programs, have proactively developed partnerships with local and national arts organizations, as well as coalitions with social media and corporate organizations to recognize artistic talent among students. So doing things like that is like going to, um, say, a local orchestra, or for example, in Columbus, going to the Columbus Symphony Orchestra and asking if they would like to help out and promote these things and provide funding. Another great way is going to, um, there have been in the past radio shows that host charities that raise money for arts programs, for new equipment, better funding, instrument repairs, things like that, to help continue those art programs. Additionally, community engagement and donations are another great avenue to help support struggling arts programs in public schools. Parents' donations and active commitment in um, keeping arts programs alive for their own students uh, is one of the primary ways to increase funding as it stands right now. Um, but it is not a ultimately sustainable solution. Another good solution is partnerships with local universities create after-school programs, which can keep underfunded programs alive in public schools, even if they're not part of the main curriculum. A great example is the goal-oriented performance in out-of-school time, or Goalpost, which was a partnership by Clemson University and three local schools where they would go and have after-school music and arts programs to help educate these children because their main local school systems could not fund the resources to do so. So why are the arts important in education? The arts are important because they allow students opportunities to express themselves, develop transferable skills that can assist them in other areas of learning. I, for one, am a student that has benefited from this. I was never that great at math, but through a music teacher, I was able to get better at my counting, especially in those formative years. And a study done in the US starting in 1982 that continued until 2008 showed that students receiving arts education during a childhood did 50% better in school, receiving significantly less failing grades and remaining in schools. And then I also have a video to demonstrate the importance of arts in education.
Now, using the power.
Sorry, just moving the screen.
Appeal of the arts to boost low-performing schools. Arts frequently get cut from school curricula due to money and time, but a pilot program around the country is trying to use music, performance, and other arts in dozens of schools to motivate kids. Jeffrey Brown has the story. It's part of our weekly series on making the grade.
Ready? I have enough. You want six? Do I have enough? Yeah.
Making music and using the arts to build math and other skills. That's the theory here at the Renew Cultural Arts Academy, a public charter school in New Orleans. Not long ago, one of the lowest performing schools in Louisiana, a state ranking near the bottom in the nation. It's a school now showing measurable signs of educational advancement. Why does the singing help you do math?
Because at my old school, when we didn't have any songs for multiplication, we half of my class used to get unsatisfactories because they didn't remember it from multiplication. But now that I'm at this school and I'm singing songs, I can memorize it more.
A floor above, an 8th grade social studies class uses the musical Hamilton to make history come alive.
That's so risky. Welcome to the practice. We're running a real nation. Would you like to join us?
Teacher Ariane Howard.
Not obsessed with Hamilton.
Yeah.
And so the rap battles were just a perfect way to bring them into what a debate actually is and how to do it. It triggers their listening skills too, and their writing skills they're gonna have to write down. And so that we provided a model for them, but they love it.
Samantha King works for KidSmart, a consulting company that helped craft the curriculum here and at other schools.
The general idea of arts integration is to appeal to different modalities of children's learning. So they get up and use perhaps skills and things that they love or are drawn to: theater, dance, visual arts, music. And we find that when you put both things together, it sticks. I mean, they remember things. It's in their body memory.
Kathy Fletcher is National Director of Turnaround Arts.
The idea is really simple, and it's that the arts in education can be used not just as a flower, something to do, after math and science scores are up, but actually as a reform strategy, something that really can help to reach and teach and engage children.
Turnaround Arts is a 5-year-old program created by the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities. It's the first federal effort to use arts education as a tool to boost achievement in the nation's lowest performing schools. 70% of its funding comes from foundations and the private sector. Turnaround began in 8 schools around the country. The number recently rose to 68 in 15 states and the District of Columbia.
In the decades past, the first thing to get cut when budgets are going are the arts. And I think a lot of people thought that families would get their own arts lessons and dance classes. And there's about 6 million kids in this country who are in public schools, charter schools, who don't have those opportunities. So they don't get any arts in school. And to have something that positive and that joyful to kickstart literacy and a lot of the other core content subjects, it just seems like a smart way to teach.
That's the circle that's gonna be formed here.
That
And-
strikes a personal chord in the turnaround artists, accomplished professionals who volunteer their time to work with students and teachers.
Let me tell you this, whenever you.
For
get
new
ready
Dolores
to
T.
work-
Aaron Academy, we watched actress Alfre Woodard, singer Graham Nash, and our own David Brooks, the New York Times columnist, in action.
So let me hear the sound it makes. Never hold sound in.
I have been watching the news and commercials.
Remember to take your time. You're gonna wanna like rush through because it'll be a little nervous. But if you stop and breathe, it'll seem long to you, but it'll seem great to everybody else.
Can you feel the vibration in the guitar? Listen, put your hands on the body.
Woodard, known for award-winning film, stage, and television roles, is a veteran of the program. Why is this important work?
Somebody showed up for both of us. That's why we're here. Art completes not only the education, but it completes the human being, our ability to create and to express that creation. And we also have all the visuals now of channels in your brain opening up when you're doing a particular discipline. So once we had that, we wanted to come into the schools to put it to the test.
You know, this particular school, it was one of their very first projects. And, you know, when they first came here, the windows were blacked out and the skylight was blocked off and the rats were running along the top of the wall. And now look at it. Itsy bitsy spider on the guitar.
Graham Nash of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young is a two-time Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, but never forgets his bleak childhood in post-World War II England.
I like to go into a thing not knowing exactly what's going on, but I'll turn left and I'll deal with whatever it is, right? So one of the kids comes up to me and he goes, you know, Mr. Nash, we've rewritten your song Chicago, and here it is, and we're going to teach it to you. Won't you please come to New Orleans just to dance? I went, okay, let's go. You know, because you can either stop it right there and say, look, you can't rewrite my song, or you can just go with it and see what happens. And when you choose that moment, that's when the world opens up and all kinds of opportunities come your way.
An independent evaluation of the original 8 turnaround schools showed early success. Half the schools improved their attendance rates. The average improvement in math proficiency was 22% and reading close to 13%. And discipline problems fell. At Renewed Cultural Arts Academy, for example, suspensions were down 51%. And the kids themselves? New Orleans 9th grader Jared Mullins has seen his own turnaround through the arts.
I'll be thinking, what more can I achieve in life instead of just stopping at this point? When I'm in the arts, I'm focused. And I can be wrong, my own beliefs.
Last spring, he found himself at the White House singing for First Lady Michelle Obama, an early backer of turnaround arts. Months later in New Orleans, he sang to a packed crowd of a different sort, a high school gymnasium filled with students, teachers, parents, and turnaround artists. Turnaround Arts will expand to 20 more schools next fall. And in a step to ensure its future, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington will help manage and host the program. From New Orleans, I'm Jeffrey Brown for the PBS NewsHour.
All right. So, as you can see, the arts are vitally important to the education of children, which is why the fact that these programs are being cut or um, just generally eliminated from programs because there's a lack of funding is just not a valid excuse. And there are plenty of ways, like we just saw in the video, of private investors of helping out. Parents can obviously give donations. Other local organizations can help fund these programs, keep them alive. And then probably the biggest impact would probably be just lobbying for more budgeting for the arts within education, or a specific budget for the arts. Um, and then lastly, just some of my works cited over the course. Thank you.